Hello and welcome to another knowledge sharing session of Uni Software Incubator. My name is Avinav and today I'll be continuing from where I left off in my last session. So I was speaking about Scala collections. In the last session we saw about what are Scala collections, the mutable versus immutable collections, strict versus lazy collections. We also saw about the Scala hierarchy for immutable collections as well as mutable collections. We also saw what is Scala reversible trait and the definitions or methods contained within it. Then we saw some examples from list to sequences and then to arrays. Okay, so from today I'll be talking about vectors and why do we need vectors. Okay, so we saw what are list and what we can do within the list. We can add or remove element only from the head of the list, and also we can access the elements one by one and traverse through it. But the process is very slow. So here comes vector, which was introduced in Scala 2.8. So the syntax for vector is like this: vector. So we have to specify what the vector will contain. Here I have specified int. So this is a vector of integers. So vectors allow accessing any element of the list in effectively constant time. So what is effectively constant time? I'll explain this with an example. Now, regarding vectors, they are uh, they are effectively constantly indexed with read and write functions. We can do fast element addition like prepend, append like this. And the other functionalities are similar to the other collections that we saw in the last session. But one important feature is that vectors have a high branching factor, which means that vectors are represented as trees, and every tree node contains 32 elements, 32 other tree nodes actually. So, for example, in the first tree node, okay, and 1024 elements can be represented in a single indirection. And for example, if we have a large collection, it's better to use vector because we can access the elements from its index very fast with vectors. So it is done in effectively constant time. Let me explain it with an example. So this is a benchmark test between vectors versus list. Which one takes the least time? Let's find out. Okay, so we have a an operation here, or we can say that we have a function here, get write time. So this function, what it does is the main operation is it updates a list or a vector, which means it updates a collection at a random index and inserts a random number in that index. In Scala, we generate a random number like this, new random. Okay, and here it is r, which is equal to a new random number. And before this operation, we note the current time in nanotime or in nanoseconds. And after the operation is completed, we then calculate the current time. So, and then we see how much time this operation takes. And we do this operation for 1,000 times. So the maximum runs is 1,000. Okay. And so for 1,000 times, which means from 1 to 1,000, we do this operation. And then at last, we this time gets summed into this value times, and then we divide it by the maximum runs so that we get the nanoseconds for 1,000 runs. I hope you are understanding this method, what I have written here. So let us implement it. We are instantiating a numbers list from 1 to maximum capacity, that is this one, and converting it to list, and another one and converting it to vector. So when we print line this get write time with from 1 to this maximum capacity number and convert it to list, and then again convert it to vector. Before finding out the result, I would like to show some advantages of both list versus vector, and also disadvantages of list versus vector. So the advantages of the list is that it keeps the reference to tail, but the advantages of vector is that the depth of the tree is very small. So a large number can be traversed very easily because every tree node contains 32 other tree nodes. Like that, we can traverse a very large number very quickly. Okay. And the disadvantage of hello, yes. Anyone has any question? So the
Yes,
disadvantage of
uh,
a list.
actually, I had one question. So, if the depth of the tree is small, then what? Then how it will like make a difference?
Okay. See, in the list, it is, for example, if we want to update the first element only. Okay. So it is better to use the list than a vector. But if we want to update the number, a very big number which is very far in the index, so we better use a vector. Or if you want to update only the head, we can use a list. So that is the only test that I'm doing. How much time does it actually take to update a number in the list and a vector?
Okay. So the factor
That
actually,
is the test.
breaks the like it breaks the the list of numbers into like a tree, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
A list is continuous with all the numbers, but the vector it breaks the numbers into trees which have nodes, which consist of nodes, and each node consists of 32 other nodes.
Okay.
So, what are the advantages of using vector over the other like structures that
I will also explain it I will explain it with a performance analysis list later in this slide. Can, can you give an example of some other like trees, other collections that have this tree structure? We can see it afterwards. Yeah.
but like you don't have anything particular the moment, but if you can obtain the like Scala connection hierarchy, right?
Yes, yes.
We have these things, right? Uh, what's this concept or something? Tree map, for example, tree set or
This okay. We'll see it afterwards. Let's continue. Uh, So we see that the time for updating a list is very large. This is in milliseconds. For 1,000 runs, it takes this much milliseconds. And for updating a vector for 1,000 times, it takes only this much milliseconds. So there are some situations where a list is preferred, and but for this situation, because the maximum capacity of this random number is very large, we must prefer a vector because the performance is higher. Okay, so regarding the hierarchy, Scala has a very complex hierarchy, and all the collections inherit some traits and features from their higher classes or traits. So the vector collection inherits all these traits. So we can see that this is a very Scala has a very complex collections hierarchy. Behind the scenes, how it is working, I will be able to show it only within the IDE, how this each of the trait inherits each other. But today I'll be showing only in this slide. So how and so why do we need collections? Just like Pawan Bhaiya said, Scala collections or collections in general gives us the access to prepackaged data structures, as well as algorithms for manipulating these data. Okay, so in these collections we already have many methods that we can apply directly, which gives us which actually saves us a lot of time. We do not need to implement these functions again and again or create them of our own. Collections already has them prepackaged. And to know how this hierarchy is uh, applied, we need to understand three concepts mainly: predicate, anonymous function, and implied loops. So what is a predicate? A predicate is simply a method which takes some parameters and returns a Boolean value like this, true or false. An anonymous function. So an anonymous function does not contain a name. Okay, so and it has some features like that, like this thing right here, which is called a transformer. The transformer is used to transform this side of the function, left side of the function, into a new result by this expression present on the right side. Okay, and it also has some features that if the this wildcard feature here, this underscore, this is used as a shorthand way to represent a parameter which appears only once in the anonymous function. So let me explain this again with some example. For example, we have a list here from 1 to 10. I have shortened this list by this range method. If you want to do the filter, if you want to apply the filter method here, so we can write it with an anonymous function. An anonymous function is also called a function literally. So when we apply the anonymous function here, the result is this one, 2468, which means all those numbers which are exactly divisible by 2. It can be shortened like this, underscore 2, which gives the same result. So what it does and how does it work under the hood, let me explain. So it is example I had in my IDE. Okay, so let me quickly explain here. So this side of the function, it has an int, which and this with this method, it returns a result which gives us a list of numbers which is exactly divisible by 2. So this anonymous function takes in only one parameter I, so we can omit it like this. And we can omit the int also because it has only one parameter here. And we can also use the underscore because it has only it takes in only one parameter. So in the shorthand way to write it is like this. I have shown this example of this filter method in my last example. Yes, this one. So it was this. We had a list.
Can we use like any other functions that we have uh, already defined in our class?
Instead of the filter function.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
instead
yes.
of the anonymous function, can we just pass an item or a function?
So this list, for example, here a list is a list of integers. So a list actually the list collection class already contains this filter method.
Yeah, but inside the
Yes,
filter method, we are passing an anonymous function, right? We are
yes, yes.
speaking about
We
the
can
function.
pass in any anonymous function.
So is it only the anonymous function or we define a function, right?
Yes, yes.
Then we can just pass it into the filter.
Mm, I'll have to check it in the filter. I'm not sure about the answer. Can I answer
Yeah,
you in my next
so,
session? Okay.
yeah, no problem.
So we can see that under the hood how this filter function is working, which I showed in my last session. So what this actually is an anonymous function. Is the in the long hand is actually this function. And also implied loops. So for understanding collections, I already said we need to understand three important concepts, which are predicate, anonymous function, and implied loops.
So one more thing that we can do that example.
Yes.
There are a couple of more questions, right? First, we can see that the anonymous function is just a one liner. Can we use multiple lines here? That is the first question. Okay. Second question is the list can contain like different types. For example, all these ints or let's say any other numbers, right? Can mix them up and we can use it. Right? In that case, we see that as the end, right? Type of a list is end. Right? So in that case, like how we will calculate or let's say apply the function. Because for example, right now we are student, we get the int here.
Yes. Yes.
But what if we are mixing up data type? How we are going to actually utilize this feature function? Because we want to show like that we are going to get the integer type.
Um, yes. Yes. I'm getting the question, but I'm not sure again what will be the result in my next. Yes. 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 Both these questions I answer in my next session. And the third concept we need to understand is the implied loop. Instead of the filter, we can also use a loop, implied loops like this. For this list, we can do a for loop here, which will yield the result E. Okay, but the filter, but the anonymous function was easier and more concise. So we can use both, but in that case, it is better to use anonymous function. So like this, we can see that these collections contain some methods like filter for each map, reduce, left, reduce, like right, like that. So with these algorithms, we can quickly do these methods and do not need to specify our own methods here. So this is the need for Scala or collections in general. And how do we choose a collection? So to begin with, in the Scala hierarchy, we have the traversal rule, which is followed by the iterable grade. And the main categories of collection classes are sequences, set, and map. So we have to choose between sequences, sets, and map. So while choosing this, we have to see that what are sequences. Okay, so a sequence is a sequential collection of elements which can be indexed or which may be indexed. A set contains key value pairs. Oh, sorry, a map contains key value pairs. A set contains collection with no duplicate elements. So if we are clear on these terms, we can choose what collection classes we need. Okay. So this is the first step. And while choosing a sequence, we have to keep in mind, like, do we need an indexable array or non-indexable array? And also, do we need immutable or mutable? So for example, if we need an immutable indexed sequence, we go with vector. Or immutable linear sequence, we can go with list, like this. Then next,
What is the difference between index and linear? I mean, do index have like we can like get the element by indexing like list? I mean,
yes, yes, like
factor zero, factor one.
yes,
Okay, but in list
yes,
you
yes,
cannot do that.
yes, we can do that. No,
Okay, but in list, like if I write list zero, won't the first element come?
no, you can do list dot head, list dot tail, like that.
Okay, okay.
So hierarchy, in the hierarchy for immutable collections, so we can see that index sequences and linear sequences. These are- So this is the difference, or this is the method while choosing a sequence. And then uh, for choosing some other, these are some other aspects while choosing immutable sequence. For example, a queue follows first in, first out data structure, or a vector, this one which I have already shown. A string, when can we use a string, like this. So this is helpful while choosing immutable sequence sources. And these are immutable sequence sources, and these are the main mutable sequence sources that we have. Arrays, array buffers, array stack. You can just go through it once.
I just want to add up what I was just asking, right? So we can actually access a list element by its index or short. You open up the command line and we'll definitely able to let you see. I think what Amina was trying to explain to them is like the structure. The internal structure is based on first one is based on the index and second one is based on the linear. But still, the linear sequences also can be accessed through the indexes. That is something like I think when I can note it down and can tell us how we are using the list element through the indexes when it is being implemented through linear
Okay, okay. I, I'll explain in my next session. And these are the main aspects while shooting a map. And while choosing a set,
So here you see we have a key set, right?
yes.
Yeah, this is one of the things I was trying to ask. There's tree set and then there is the simple tree as well. It's kind of used. Yeah, I think there are more, but I'm not really sure. Maybe you can take a look of what's the difference among them. Uh, because this is a very interesting concept and it would be really nice to explore.
Uh, I'll have to look deeper into it and deeper into each and every one of the collection. Then I can explain it better, I guess. I definitely look into it. And also we have the option for choosing strict versus lazy collection. And before going into choosing strict versus lazy collection, we need to understand what is a transformer. So the filter function that we saw, which was in which we applied one anonymous function. So in that function, what we did was, so using, okay, so here transformer. So this syntax is known as transformer. So the transformer is used to transform the left hand side of this anonymous function and returns a new result with the right hand side expression. What is there in the right hand side expression? So this is called a transformer. Okay. So the filter method actually applies a transformer. So in strict versus lazy collection, we see that in strict collection, the memory for the elements is allocated immediately and all of its elements are immediately evaluated when transformers method is invoked. But in lazy collection, the transformers method do not construct new elements until they are demanded. So I guess it is similar to lazy wells where uh, the values are, okay. So it might not be similar. So I have to again look into it. But strict versus lazy collection is useful if you want to create a collection which contains infinite elements or without stretching up much on the memory. So here a lazy collection is useful. So again, to go deeper into it, I'll have to look more into it and I'll explain it with examples in my next session. Okay, so the performance test that I have said. So before going to performance test, we can see that some keys with the descriptions. So this key means that the operation takes fast and constant time. And also, for example, if this key is there, which means the operation is linear, so the time is proportional to the collection size. So these are some keys with the descriptions. And also we will do these operations. We will find out the head, tail, the apply method, and the update method. The update method which is already saw in the test that we did between vectors versus list. We will see how it works here. We also have these other operations, prepend, append, insert. So let's get into this table here. So for list, the update method, the key is L, and for vectors update method, this is the key L versus EC. So what we have, for the list, the operation was linear and the time was proportional to the collection size. Because the collection size is very large, it took much larger time. But because that, but in the tree, it takes effectively constant time because this vector has the tree and node structure. And these are the references: Scala Cookbook by Elvin Alexander and Dr. Javier course by Daniel. So I'm bringing these tables and these examples from here. This Scala Cookbook and Dr. Javier course. So this is all I had for today. If anyone has any doubts, you can ask me or go to these references.